Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right, and to avoid lazy negativity, we've decided to make this episode a drinking game.
Woo! Drinking game.
Yes, we did.
Anytime we say anything negative at all, we're going to play this sound. And that means that we are taking a drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass, and we're going to discuss a movie whose title seems to be the New Year's resolution of all your streaming services.
Guys, it's good to be back. We've taken a 3-week break, and we kicked this episode off with John making us restart it. So, John...
He's on the board. He's on the board.
Glad you got an Ethernet cable. Glad you got an Ethernet cable, though. Really,
I never thought the first buzz of the year would be John.
Oh, sure. There's no way that would happen. But I am going to just gently pass that right back to you.
What happened?
Because Dave and I sat online for about 15 minutes last week, and we were like, do you think he's coming? Where is he? Surely he never responded to us. Maybe he just didn't. Where do you think he is?
Do you want to know the irony?
Fucking Hawaii.
I'm talking out of school here, but Jeff just shared that we're not the only one he did that to.
Yeah, it's true, actually.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you did fuck up. Jeff literally texted us afterwards, and he said, I was literally in a surfing lesson.
Yeah, I was.
When you guys were texting me if I was going to start to hop on and talk about fucking movies.
Fuck.
You better surf in Hawaii as opposed to talk about movies.
He might have got a few mentions on the Matt and Mark movie show.
Yeah.
Who's that?
A gripe.
Who are they?
Mark. Yeah, they apparently asked me to be on their show on Instagram, and then I didn't see it or didn't respond, or I don't know, I was in Hawaii. And then I kept responding to their other stories. So they roasted me for that on the show.
So I don't know. I was in Hawaii. I feel like that's a meme.
Yeah. Shit.
You can just say that whenever you want. I fucking lived in Hawaii for a few months after college, and dude, it's one of those places where like the cliche exists for a reason. It's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like TV and film has kind of taken a break from it too. Like before White Lotus 2021.
Yeah.
Nothing had been set there in a long time. Like
Hawaii
America
5-0,
kind of has its film.
Yeah,
Hawaii 5-0, sure.
Everyone kind of went, Lost did it. Let's avoid it.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. But I mean, my God, like, can you imagine having a reason to like work there and live there for part of the year?
Oh my God.
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
That would suck. God, that would be so tough.
So anyway, had a great time. And also, Moana really got Hawaii. Man, they really cut some corners, man. They could have done so much more with that. It's what they set the whole thing on the ocean. Come on, what the fuck? Lilo and Stitch were way better. Okay, so we're talking.
Moana was set in Indonesia. I thought it was Indonesian.
That's why Maui was the god in the movie.
True.
Okay.
They were supposed to be Indonesian, weren't they? Isn't that why she was trying to become a sailor?
I mean, they are Polynesian. They are
Polynesian.
I'm buzzing everyone for this whole conversation.
Those explorers came across the ocean. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, the settlers and really fucked over that island a long time ago, but it's still great right now. Oh, it's so good. Too many hotels in Oahu, but oh my God, it's paradise, guys. It's paradise. Oh, and
paradise.
Okay, we got to get back into the show here. I had a great trip. We're going to be talking about 1965, the film year, a couple things that were happening. This is based on a random year generator, which pulled this year. And we're going to give you some mini reviews. Got a couple mini reviews for new movies that are coming out because it is award season here in January 2024. So we've seen some new movies in our past 3 weeks. Not enough. But
and I just want to stop everything right now because I know, if I'm not mistaken, this movie came out in 1967.
Okay, I have a little thing about that, Dave.
Yep,
I've already had that in my research.
Good.
But yes,
I mean I know we're drunks, but we're not stupid.
Yes, it came out in 1965 in Italy. We'll talk about that in a second. Are you curious? Why did it take 2 years for this movie to come out in America? Well, I'll tell you when we get to our segment about 1965, which will lead into For a Few Dollars More, Sergio Leone's film that he filmed in Rome and Spain, starring Clint Eastwood, who was on break from Rawhide. Rawhide! It was not allowed to film in America per contract because those greedy bastards that run studios, this is totally different now for sure. Those greedy bastards that run studios at the time could forbid you from using your hiatus to film in a certain country. That's how fucked up those contracts were in the 50s and 60s. But he was allowed to film in Europe. So Clint Eastwood went to Spain, went to Rome, and he made some spaghetti westerns as they became known. And we're going to talk about For a Few Dollars More, which is the second in the trilogy. They all came out 3 years in a row in Italy, 1964, 65, 66. If we said this movie came out in 67, we'd fuck a lot of things up, but more on that later. We got some beer. We got some sponsors. I bumped into one of our sponsors yesterday.
Was his name Carlos Barroso?
His name is Carlos Barroso. Angela and I were hanging at Nordstrom's across the street from the old establishment that John and I met Carlos at. And we walked in and he hugged us. He was giving us kisses on the cheek. Carlos is such a good guy. I think he made a joke like, am I your sponsor again? I was like, yes, of course. And then he was like, okay, I drank all the beers I gave you.
One show where we made that joke.
Is that a... wait, when did that Nordstrom get in there on 57th?
Oh, yeah, it's the flagship store now.
For years?
Very good. No.
Holy shit.
Yeah, flagship. In fact, it's so big, the men's department has to be across the street. Yeah, it's huge. 5 floors.
Where they belong.
That's what she said.
Basements. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So that's what she said, like we're an office space. All right. We also have a music sponsor.
Just the office.
Yeah.
Just the office, you fucking idiot.
Oh, my God.
No, I said office space.
Yeah.
Okay, office, whatever. Get the fuck out of here. And then,
Did it again.
Anyway, Carlos has more beers for us next month. John, you're shit out of luck, man. You're in Los Angeles.
So his name is Carlos Barroso, and I believe he has an Instagram handle. cbarroso.beer. If you want to follow him, you can go look at all of his beer making shenanigans. He is fun to watch, always sharing new information on just some local spots in New York City, different beer articles. He might be brewing something up. Definitely fun to follow him. We also have a music artist in residence by the name of Dasein, Dasein. You can download or stream all of that music on the usual music platforms. Go enjoy. You can hear his music at the beginning and ending of all of our shows just to give you a taste. He's got some new shit out right now.
We liked it so much we played it twice tonight.
Listen to the interludes, and he has a couple things that are about to drop that we listened to recently, Under the Influence in the Mountains. Oh boy, really, really beautiful, awesome, amazing stuff. Dasein.
Sure. We've all been there. Yeah. I want to give one more shout out to Guy, who is the new GM at this restaurant that John and I used to work at, whose name I refuse to mention after how horribly they fired me. His name's Guy. This guy.
Wow, congrats, dude. Yeah, I didn't know he was
Guy.
the.
Yeah, you remember him, right? Yeah. So anyway, Guy, shout out. I hear you listen to the pod. We'll come in someday, perhaps.
Hell yeah.
Not. And maybe I'll think differently about the place since I was fired for some bullshit. All right, people, we got to get into the show. Yeah, it's the same.
The food. Sometimes I mention the food. I kind of want to go eat it. I kind of want to go back there and visit New York and try some of it.
All right.
What are we talking about? What are we doing?
I know we're chewing up time here, but I have a gripe that I've been sitting on for like 2 weeks that I'm ready to go. But if you guys
you have been poor fucking Angela has had to listen to your fucking gripes just like every night by herself.
Yeah. She was in on a couple of these too.
Because you've had weeks to. No.
You don't set this up. Don't set this up. Okay. All right. I'm ready for my gripe.
The thing about Hawaii is.
Okay, no, give me my time back. Okay, the skincare companies, stop having a 12-year-old tell me what their skincare routine is.
Sure,
I get it.
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram influencers, they're all children who are terrible dancers and don't wear enough clothes. I get it. But they're so young and innocent, they could throw acid on their face and not look any different. And I'm not talking about hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid. That's a skincare joke. But now kids are doing national network skincare commercials and that pays a lot of money. The headline keeps circulating about how Hilary Duff still looks good at 35 and everyone's freaking out like, oh, still look good, like she's supposed to look like Miss Havisham by now. That's a Dickens reference, kids. Put the lotion down and read a book. And if you're a straight boy, put the lotion down, pull your pants up, and go talk to a girl because those rates are down. But anyway, Hilary Duff, if it's so surprising that Hilary Duff looks amazing, ask her. Fucking Hook was 33 years ago. What's Maggie Smith's skincare routine? Honestly, you can't afford their skincare routine anyway. So put that shit down that's been banned in Canada. Get it off your face.
It's not real.
And just respect your elders. And when you see any of these children, tell them to take a fucking dance class with an adult teacher. That's it.
Jeff went to Hawaii and turned into me.
There is a an array of baby mammal stem cells at any given moment that are just being pumped into Maggie Smith. You know there are, dude. That woman still looks
What's her
beautiful.
skincare routine? I don't want a 12-year-old. You know what my skincare routine was when I was 12 was? Nothing. Nothing.
We finally find out that Maggie Smith's like skincare routine is like Jack and Coke and a cigarette. It's like
Bottle it up.
dude.
Bottle it up. It's a lot
Work for
cheaper
Joe
than what I'm
Cocker.
putting in.
Probably very little sun. Jeff, did you get too much sun?
I actually did get too much sun, and I got one of those huge.
island?
I got one of those huge ass hats too, and I couldn't help it. Got to check out the.
dangerous, you guys.
Got to check out the moles. We got some mini reviews. Dave's gonna mention one. John's gonna mention. I don't know. John, you start with one of yours because you saw a couple more than us. So what do you want to start with in your mini review?
I am going to start with. Do you want to do like 1, 1, 1? We'll go around the horn, or should I just go in order all three?
Man, I have no idea.
just do one.
I'm going to do American Fiction because I saw it most recently last night.
I wanna
Cord
see it so bad.
Jefferson's. Yeah, that's his name, right? God, I didn't fuck that up, did I? Yeah, Cord Jefferson. It's his debut as a director, but he's been a staff writer on multiple really great shows in the past
Won an Emmy for Watchmen.
7 or 8 years. Yeah. He's been doing some fun stuff. He was a journalist before that. So this man is, very comfortable writing. It shows, but he really did a great job with this movie, and all the reviews are right. I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it had a really, really wonderful tone, especially if you are someone who identity does not matter here. If you are someone who has a particular take on what might seem as limitations of seeming extremely PC and liberal in current climate we live in, this movie is going to make you smile, laugh, feel some warmth in your heart, maybe understand the other side of the argument a little bit better, and strengthen your own. Like it's good. It's worth seeing. Some people might say, I'll wait till it comes into their television, but spend money on this movie. First-time director, movies like this that don't get produced very often. Rian Johnson is a producer on this project, but this is a small movie that needs to be seen in the theater so that you can give it as much money as possible. Because I bet you're probably not going to spend VOD prices on it. You're probably not going to spend $20 at home, but I bet you would spend $15 to go see it in the movie theater. So go do it. I got 2 others I'll talk about, but you guys want to talk about one of yours first?
Dave.
I actually saw Poor Things.
Nice.
The Emma Stone film. It's
Yeah, it's
well, no, it's billed as a science fiction, and the
what? I didn't know that.
The world they create for this thing is amazing. It is so far out. I haven't seen someone commit to a vision since Scott Pilgrim, basically. So hard.
Wow.
Like the world building is fantastic. It's completely.
Listener, that's Dave's favorite movie, by the way. Just so we're all on the same page of that.
He's wearing the shirt right
completely
now.
Unapologetic.
He hit his Scott Pilgrim quota today.
In its way. It's long. I will say if it's long. It is. I want to say it's the perfect first date film because if your first date is still there at the end of it, you know this is going to work.
Okay.
Because there's some uncomfortable shit.
He
in
wrote
this
that
movie.
an hour, 2 hours and 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
That joke popped into his head.
But yeah,
I've heard it's amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing.
Great.
And
yeah.
I mean, fantastic cast, fantastic story. It's gripping. And basically if this doesn't win something for production design, I don't know what will.
It looked like it was all shot, or a lot of it was shot inside studios, that they built everything. Is that?
Yeah.
Did you get that sense
Even
too?
the exteriors are almost like a stage set.
That's what it looked. Yeah, that's what all the promo and marketing show
everything
looks like.
is condensed. Everything because she's basically trapped. He won't let her outside. So there's like 1 or 2 times where they show the outside world. But then when she finally goes out into the outside world, it's like little concise set pieces, and it's very well designed. And also, cool. Very interesting story. I was joking about the first date thing. Don't take your first date to this because there is gratuitous sex all the way through it.
Sure. He likes that, doesn't he? He loves it.
Oh my God.
Lanthimos.
Was it? Well, I saw another new film while we're here. Well, I saw The Creator, but you guys had already done a mini review on it, and I saw it on a plane, of course, so with a grain of salt.
That's the director you intended.
I really, 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 really like it. I say the script is not weak isn't the right word, but I think I could have used a slightly more challenging script. But the idea is for top notch, and I feel like we're going to see more of those ideas. And of course, the filmmaking is brilliant, and the tension is good, and everything. I feel like the plot and some of the dialogue wasn't as challenging as the film. If that makes sense.
I think the one thing I liked about that one is by the time you got to Act 3, it could have gone anywhere.
Totally. It concluded really well. Totally. Just nothing that was like holding me in suspense. Anyway, from the script, just the visuals and the action. Anyway, you guys see Asteroid City too? I know that was a long time ago.
No.
Yep.
No.
It's different. I know it's obviously still West. You can't escape it, but they go kind of in and out of this world. And similar, actually, Dave, you kind of reminded me that I saw it with Poor Things because they set it up that it's like a play or it's being acted out, and so you see the sets. They're showing you the sets, and then sometimes you kind of forget they're there, but it's obviously stylized and it feels even more set like than the Grand Budapest Hotel or any of these others, but I did really, really, really like it. It is not a plain movie, I don't think, because I was kind of going in and out. Every time they kind of change sequences, the tone shifts and the mood shifts.
I'm often looking for things to put me to sleep on a plane.
Oh boy.
But I still really liked it. I like that elevated language and style, and I love the way characters talk to each other in Wes Anderson movies, where it's conversational, but the movement is so subtle and still that it's like the Edward Norton, his character is really fun. Anyway, I liked it, but didn't love it. Not my favorite Wes, but go see it because it's different. Sweet. Should we get into Maestro, John?
Yeah. You and I both saw it.
Yeah.
Did you watch it on the plane, or did you guys have a proper, home theater?
We watched it.
Good TV.
We watched it at home theater at home before we left.
What'd you think, man?
We didn't finish it.
Oh, Jesus. Oh boy. Oh man.
What about you?
Right. I really, really, really liked it. I think I feel like that movie is in a weird place. I'm not speaking of any authority here. It didn't get any love at Golden Globes. It's not. I'm wondering if people are feeling weird about the fact that he directed himself in that kind of role. Because there's a difference between, and I made this allusion, and I'm not saying I necessarily feel this way, but I wouldn't be surprised if some people have this reaction to it. William Wallace in Braveheart does not want the limelight. That's one of the reasons that's so attractive to him. And the reason why I think it's easier to swallow someone like Mel Gibson, leave his controversy aside with what happened to him later in his life. But at the time, yeah, he's in almost every scene and a lot of frames of Braveheart, but he's playing the kind of character that is just trying to do the right thing. Leonard Bernstein is a egotistical, character, and he's in every single frame. So I have a feeling that might be turning some people off, that Bradley Cooper put himself in that kind of role. That said, I thought it was a very well-directed piece. It's directed. It's not just point a camera at them while they act, and he has all the makeup and does the voice and waves his arms around. I thought it was very well conceived. I love Leonard Bernstein, the man, and I think he's got a wonderful story. There's a lot of really great drama just infused into his life. If you're a fan of classical music, I think you're going to love it. I thought it was really beautifully done. The score is obviously just covered in his music from different periods of time. So I don't know if any of that stuff strikes your fancy. I'd find it hard to believe that you wouldn't enjoy watching it, but I am curious. Did you turn it off because you guys said, I don't want to watch this anymore? Or did you guys just not have time?
What's the run time on this film?
It's a little over 2:10 maybe.
Yeah, it's really not that long.
Cool.
It's not.
We it's a tough word to say. I feel like it's such a dagger word, but we were bored, man. It wasn't to me.
It's a tough word to say on this show.
I know. The first 15 minutes were so great. It was so great. I love that it wasn't a Wikipedia biopic where it just gives you it plays all the hits and tells you all the information. And I love that it wasn't a single topic or single issue biopic like a Lincoln where it's about passing a bill and then hopefully you get, or Selma where it's I hope you understand the person based on this month of their life. It was somewhere in between, I guess. It was we saw a lot. It opened in the future, and I love that where it was basically love. It was the Carey Mulligan character who plays his wife, and I loved that going back.
Gosh, she's so good.
She is. To me, the movie's called Maestro, and that doesn't mean that I have to overthink that, especially we've talked about titles on this movie, but I wasn't grounded in who he was, what the want is, what the pinch was. And then all of a sudden, I believe he over-directed it. I don't think it was grounded when he was doing all of these sweeps. And there was a dream ballet like less than 30 minutes into the movie. And we're seeing all this tension that you know who he is in real life, you know, the bisexuality and this stuff. And they were laying it on enough that people can catch up with that. But I was like, what we don't even know who this person is. These people seem to have just met. And now we're already in a whim. There's a reason dream ballets are usually in act 2. And this is like 25 minutes in. I just feel like he was doing things to show that he can direct, and it just didn't seem grounded in anything. I just didn't care. I honestly could have used. I would have rather had the Tar thing where it's 10 minutes of him on a one-hour. Also, his voice work was all over the place. Not his accent necessarily, but his voice work. I don't think his voice was grounded. I don't know. It wasn't clicking for me. I got to give it another watch, but I don't know.
I am just curious, and I don't want to give anything away here, but did you get to the big sequence where he conducts Mahler's second?
No, I saw a video about that, but of course I didn't watch it in context of the film, so that shouldn't count. But
so I'm not going to give anything away, but there is some kind of payoff after that sequence that comments on what you're talking about. Now, you could still absolutely say that, well, if that is your plant and this is your payoff, I still didn't buy the plant, or it just didn't satisfy me. But there is a payoff there that I do think is intentional. Okay. But I mean, you know, you're asking a lot of people. Also, let me just take a big stab at this. This kind of movie is supposed to be seen on a giant screen.
Yeah. With great sound.
I can't imagine, because I mean, we watched it on TV and, you know, we had some decent speakers, but like, I think everybody would appreciate it more if you got to see it on 60 feet. Yep. It's just that kind of film. So I feel bad for him for that sense too, because like everybody's press and play on this at the Christmas season where they really want to be entertained, and it is a heavy piece, and it is very directed. You know, it's going to kind of take a lot of risks, and anyway. Well, I'm sorry. Not sad to hear you say that, but I guess I'm not super surprised.
I mean, most people are saying that. You know, I know he's getting nominated for a lot of stuff, but a lot of people are saying it. But yeah, anyway, it's okay. He's great. Yeah. She's amazing.
She's so good.
And he can direct. He really can. Dude. He can really direct. I want to see him do a Cassavetes next.
And I know we're running long here, but I did just want to shout out, because you guys know I was such a huge fan of The Holdovers. Still probably my favorite film. Maybe my absolute favorite film of the year.
Now.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations to Paul Giamatti and Devine. Is that her name?
Davine. I think they pronounce it Davine.
Fuck yes. I'm so happy. I know that they might not get a chance to get that acclaim when they're in the academies or the guilds, when it's not separated into comedy, musicals, and drama. So take a fucking bow. You guys deserve it. That movie is awesome, and I'm so glad they were recognized.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I'm done.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Dave, anything you want to add before I go on my rant about 1965 in film? And then we're going to get into For a Few Dollars.
We're only 25 minutes in, Dave. What do you want to talk about?
John's drink light's still on. He's ignored that line.
That's fine.
I drank
No, there was another one.
All right. Well, drink up. John's birthday tomorrow.
I don't even know
Very
what that
excited
one was
for you. Congratulations, John.
Hey, thanks.
Setting you up good for success. All right, people. We have reached our featured segment here. Films from the 1965. I think this one's easy, but I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't have said that and come across as an asshole. What was the highest grossing film from 1965?
Is it a James Bond film?
Nope. Well, I feel.
Is it a musical?
Yes.
Yes. It's a musical about Nazi fucking Germany.
Yeah, those Nazis come in, and they come in fucking hard in this movie. That's right. The Sound of Music. The Sound of Music would actually replace Gone with the Wind as the highest grossing film of all time. And it essentially saved 20th Century Fox, who was still recovering their debt from fucking Cleopatra 2 years prior. Also, Christopher Plummer hated this movie, and he hated that he was known for it until years later. Funny fact, but true. Apparently $72 million, which in 1965 sounds like a lot. But then again, these numbers are all bullshit. Dr. Zhivago comes in at number 2, which was also one of the highest / fastest growing movies of all time. and became
Love
a
that movie.
huge MGM hit, their biggest hit since Ben-Hur. So those two big fucking firecrackers here in 1965. Thunderball came in third, which is the James Bond film this year. Although if you go online, you can't fucking trust anything online. It tries to say that Goldfinger came out this year, and it tries to say that Mary Poppins came out this year, which is bullshit. They both came out in 1964. I don't know what the hell is wrong with Google, but they're throwing us off. Those magnificent men in their flying machines came in at number 4 for 20th Century Fox. Can you wonder why they were struggling financially?
Yeah,
But hey,
right.
they came in number 4, even with movies with that title. The Great Race!
It's like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, only you need less drugs.
And more words in the title.
The Great Race comes out this year, not to be confused with The Greatest Story Ever Told, which fucking flopped. Sorry, George Stevens. Jesus Christ.
Aw.
It's a Jesus Christ film, so religious films took a long time to recover after this. Yes. That Darn Cat came in at number 6. Movies were weird. Cat Ballou comes in at number 7.
boy.
What's New Pussy Cat? That's 3 cat references in a row.
Wow.
Shenandoah comes in at number 9. And then Von Ryan's Express at number 10. Again, what a weird year of movies. Really glad we're talking about our movie, which I'll tell you more about in a second. A couple things that happened this year. Another vault fire. The 60s were fucked up for vault fires at MGM Studios in Culver City. Destroyed the only known copies of hundreds of archived silent films, including some Lon Chaney's and some Garbos, man. Sorry,
Do you think
guys.
other studios were just paying
damn.
people to run around and start vault fires?
I mean, maybe, but then again, you saw those, everything was flammable as fuck. You know that shit. And then the other big thing I'll say is that the Oscars, which of course would be the following year, but for this film year, The Sound of Music would win 5 awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Robert Wise, which was the second time he accomplished that feat after West Side Story a few years earlier. Another notable thing that came out in film this year is A Charlie Brown Christmas. The first Peanuts televised special.
And it's still
debuted
going.
on CBS, and it's a Christmas tradition. Before I get into the world events, any other films you guys want to highlight from this year that you see, which might be bullshit because of Google?
Nope.
Definitely.
I wasn't even alive.
Kurosawa's Redbeard,
Okay.
Sidney Lumet's The Hill, and Polanski's Repulsion.
Ooh, Repulsion was this year, right? Nice. Okay, what was
Yeah,
going?
that's all I got.
Okay, what was going on in 1965? Lyndon B. Johnson is sworn in for his first full term.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Churchill.
The Voting Rights Act.
I don't know if that was this year. Actually, I thought we already covered
No.
that. But anyway, Churchill passed away and was laid in rest in January of '65.
Oh shit.
There's a big year for space. So there was a Russian space walk. Ranger 8, which was American, crashes into the moon after a successful mission of photographing possible landing sites for the Apollo program. And Gemini 3, NASA launches the United States' first 2-person crew with Gus Grissom and John Young into Earth's orbit. And we also had a different fucking scope that went past Mars and just blew by Mars, but gave us some images of the red planet. Malcolm X was assassinated this year. That's fucking terrible. And the Bloody Sunday massacre happened in Selma, which was followed up by King marching back in Selma a couple
And the Voting
weeks
Rights
later.
Act did get published in August of 1965.
Nice.
Probably because of all that shit.
The U.S. occupies the
And
Dominican
now they're
Republic.
trying to overturn it state by state.
Those bad. Yeah,
God
they are.
fucking
Those
damn it.
fucking bastards. Indo-Pakistani War. Che Guevara resigns and leaves Cuba. And Vietnam, we sent 3,500 Marines to arrive in South Vietnam to become the first American ground combat troops in Vietnam. And later that year, we started getting ambushed and had proper battles with the North Vietnamese. 1965, people, not 67 or 68. 65 is when we were on the ground, fucking shit up.
That was the police action or the actual war?
That was when we actually had troops. That was us actually deploying troops in war.
Because at first it was a police action.
Yes, that's right. That was earlier. And Lyndon B. Johnson also outlawed burning draft cards and stuff. This all happened in 65, way before, I don't know, I think our generation knows. Let's segue into For a Few Dollars More here with this. And I think the most important thing here is, as Dave mentioned before, this movie came out in America in 1967. You know what else came out in 1967? The other 2 movies in this trilogy. So Sergio Leone, his first proper feature film was in 1961, and 7 of his 8 feature films were between 1961 and 1971. So he fucking owned the 60s. If it weren't for a little director named Akira Kurosawa. So what happened was, in 1964, Sergio Leone co-wrote and directed A Fistful of Dollars, the first part of this trilogy, which starred Charles Bronson and, of course, Clint Eastwood. And Akira Kurosawa's company sued the production company for Sergio Leone because it is very obviously an unofficial remake of Yojimbo that they, of course, did not get any kind of rights or permission for. So the North American distributors were very wary of distributing any of these films because they were worried about getting sued by Kurosawa's company. Somehow they got the rights, or they got some kind of deal made where all three Dollars films were released in America in 1967. So Fistful came out in January, For a Few Dollars More came out in May, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which technically came out in Italy in 1966, came out in December. So 1967 is the hugest year. It changed everything in cinema, and it just also happened to be when all three of these movies were released. That kind of gets buried beneath The Graduate and all the other shit that was happening that year. Pretty interesting, right?
Damn. Yeah.
Eastwood received $50,000.
Did you see the story where Eastwood only agreed to do the film after they rushed an Italian version over to the US?
Yeah.
Because it hadn't come out yet?
Yeah.
And the audience sat down and watched it in Italian.
Isn't that funny?
And they had such a good time that he agreed to do the second one.
Yeah. Whereas Charles Bronson said basically what Clint Eastwood was worried about, which is that it's too similar. The movies are too similar style, similar characters. He's going to be another person that's not named, even though they pretended to give him a name in this, even though it's sort of unnamed, but he does have a name. But Charles Bronson said no, which is why you had Van Cleef come in.
His poncho has bullet holes from the first one in it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And again, he can only do these movies. He can't do anything else because he can't work in America because of fucking Rawhide. But actually, the sets of all of these movies, too, this is funny. You can actually go to where they built El Paso in this film, and they used it for other sets as well. It's actually in Spain. So a lot of the exteriors were filmed in the desert in Spain, and the interiors were filmed in Rome, Italy. This also was a co-pro with West Germany and France. Solve for X. But anyway, you can actually go visit what they call Mini Hollywood. It is a theme park that still exists if you want to head out to the Spanish desert. And I think that's enough of me yapping about this film. Let me give you the setup, and then I'll pass it off to you. John's the expert of this series, not us. But
No.
let's give you just the pitch, and then we'll go on our way. So IMDb description of this movie: two bounty hunters with the same intentions team up to track down an escaped Mexican outlaw. This is available for streaming on HBO Max, or sorry, just Max. Who wants to take it from there?
I don't know if they team up.
What's funny is that doesn't even happen for like an hour into the movie. So I feel like an hour's worth of setup, which is brilliant. They just like, that's not what this movie's about. Anyway, they got to say something in there.
I'll give just a little tiny bit of history on Sergio Leone, the director, who was born to silent film stars.
Yeah.
And he literally was in like grade school with Ennio Morricone, the amazing composer, who would later be his ultimate collaborator in terms like his John Williams to his Steven Spielberg. He eventually started assisting Vittorio De Sica, who made such films as Bicycle Fucking Thieves. So like, he came up in the film industry as an assistant for a long time to a very, very, very profoundly effective, the new age right after post-war Italian cinema. And then he got obsessed with Kurosawa, like so many people did, and started making these specific kind of Westerns. And before we start talking about the movie specifically, I do just want to give a tiny bit of context on when these were distributed in 1967 to America. The Hays Code, which is what we refer to as the code, whenever pre-code and post-code, these are things that have to do with husbands and wives in movies sleeping in separate beds, how you portray violence, and anything that is of there was no rating system yet, all that kind of shit. When these movies got distributed over here, he was able to really break some molds with how violent these Westerns were.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, everybody listening to this who's a fan of cinema, but certainly if you grew up in America, whether you watch them or not, we own the Western. It's like what Hollywood fucking made for 30 or 40 years up till that point, even silent era, all the way back to 1900. They were the first movies made were Westerns. So why was what he did such a unique turn on it? One, it was done, these spaghetti style Western, which is still used. That's not a prejudiced term. They still talk about it. Italians still use that. Like everybody still uses that term. I don't know how it's allowed to still be used, but they still use it. One of the obvious ways that it was so popular was because of how it portrayed its violence. There was a specific piece of the Hays Code that said there was a specific way that you were supposed to cut or stage when somebody was shot in a Western.
That's my favorite
Right.
role.
So that they weren't, so that they weren't supposed to be in the same
The sender
frame.
and receiver couldn't be in the same frame.
You needed to cut to show the violence. And he said, fuck that. Now, of course, there's brilliant cutting as well. There's brilliant editing where they do that in a very effective way. But there were also a lot of times, and especially in a lot of his very famous showdown sequences, where you get to see somebody really get shot, like the opening when Lee Van Cleef gets off his horse and shoots that guy at the beginning. That whole sequence, no one had ever seen anything like that before. They had a fistful of dollars. That was the first time that these were really seen.
But if you
didn't need to see these movies in order. Yeah. So that was the obvious thing. It would be like the equivalent. What I always talk about is it is the equivalent to our generation, us three, you guys, watching Pulp Fiction for the first time and being like, oh, shit. That's what violence looks like. That's what filmmaking can be when it's shamelessly epic and operatic, and they play with time manipulation, and they start playing with mise en scène, and just there's a lot of traditional things that they're doing here that he just turned on its head, turned up to 11, or just fucking exploded in your face for the first time. It was not gentle. And the themes were, I would say that the mythology of the Western, these mythos and pathos of this incredible genre that America had already done so well with, they did the Italian version of it. Yeah. They did the Spanish version of it. It's just more emotional. There's a heightened sense to it. And a lot of that, I think, exists in the simple fact that the dubbing, there is something about the dubbing in Italian movies that immediately puts it into like a dreamscape. It doesn't look and sound real because the dialogue is not recorded on set. None of it is. So everything sounds like it's not quite right. And I think all of that, and it culminates in this amazing trilogy, which is still celebrated. I like these movies a lot. I don't know.
I just want to say too, America took it and ran with it, man. Because there's a body count of 46 in this. That doesn't even make the top 100 of movies with body counts.
I feel like all of these were of consequence.
But you feel these more, don't you?
But you know what's
like? I mean, we could.
And you know what's funny too is you do feel them, but also I almost thought you were going to say I didn't know it was a cutting where they couldn't be in the same frame. The way people die is more instantaneous, which does put it in this sort of melodrama / opera. There is also a very pseudo famous opera that is a Western called Fanciulla del West, which is a Puccini opera, which is like, duh, of course it is. Like the fucking epic scale. Like how many close-ups are there in this most epic? The opening sequence, guys, that opening where you just see a guy with a horse a million miles away and then it just fucking goes down and then the credits start rolling. And then and then the horse is still there and they say, get that horse out of there. So they start fucking with that horse. I mean, it is so goddamn good. But I thought you were going to say the way people died like that. Because we all know, you know, watching your Tarantinos and watching your Godfathers and stuff, the people bleed out. They don't die right away. You know, people die of their injuries later, right? In these movies, boom, it happens pretty much every single time.
It's also the fact that they're so heightened and operatic and theatrical, or there was maybe a necessity that came out of the fact that they didn't have a lot of money when they were making them. There's not a lot of squibs and blood splatter in this movie.
No, don't need them.
There's some, but for the most part, none.
Yeah.
People are just like getting shot and then they roll over very dramatically. When the most deadly stabs of all time, when Clint is when they're sneaking in over the prison at the beginning to break him out, and it's just one stab anywhere in the body, they're dead immediately. It doesn't matter. There's no blood. It doesn't matter. Everybody just dies very quickly.
It's a knife of instant kill +5.
Yeah. That's good.
But yeah, man, there's so all right, so had you guys seen this before?
No.
Had y'all seen any of these before?
Yeah. Like I said, my grandfather was huge on the Westerns, so I got them through the periphery. But it's been years since I saw this one.
I definitely watched the
What'd you think?
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it was long. It crams about 50 minutes of plot into a 2-hour and 20-minute movie. In saying that,
it is long.
The direction is solid, the production design is solid, the shots are solid, the editing is solid, the sound is not. But like it's a fantastic movie. Like it's the plot is a bit slow, but sometimes that's what a Western's about.
Yeah, for sure. That is something that I know this is going to sound incredibly obvious, but I do think that one of his intentions, he's spoken about it before, John Ford has spoken about it before, creating the right pace in a Western they would argue that it's important for holding on to that mythos because time was so slow. And one way that I love what this movie does for how they make a comedic bit out of it is the prospector scene when Clint goes to talk to that guy who literally has like lived there clearly for like 100,000 years, refused to sell his property, and the train smoke just keeps
oh my
coming
God,
in,
that scene with the fucking
everybody.
house shaking. Oh my God.
That was so funny.
How did they do that?
I mean, how did they do that? I don't know. Dave, what do you think? They had him on a fucking stage and they were literally like moving the whole stage and like had it on hydraulics.
The stage on
it might
shocks?
have been, I mean, yeah, maybe.
They took the shocks out of cars and just put it under the stage and just bounced it around. Like, what the fuck?
Unbelievable.
Well, they built the set next to a train line.
The pacing.
They just put it next to
the
train
pacing,
line.
I think, is important though.
Yeah.
You gotta keep it slow. So I mean, there is a
Yeah, it was just a little
people
too
who
slow
don't
for me.
know what a people who don't know what a midpoint is in a movie. You'll know what it is in this movie because you're gonna think the movie's over. You're gonna be like, oh, there's an hour left of this movie.
Yeah, you'll know because you'll keep pushing the up button to check how much is left in the fucking movie.
Yeah. I think.
But if you chill out, I think it's.
So I had seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly because for whatever reason it was like on the IMDb top 5 or top 10 for a while. It was like Shawshank 1, Godfather 2, and this was. It was like 4 or 5, and of course they always put it in the Italian version. And
was that the one I came home and you guys were watching in the living room?
We were watching
time?
Once Upon a Time.
In the West. Okay.
In the West.
Yeah. Which I think is actually my favorite of the Leones, if I'm honest. But
yeah.
And that one's longer than this. I do agree with Dave. It did feel long. I think the description does it a disservice because I love the beginning. I love the setup before they teamed up. You know, I just love the idea of these bandits, these outlaws, and the money just kept getting bigger. And then we finally see the prison breakout. So we know that there's going to be this huge gang and they're going to be doing something, you know. And I loved that setup before they teamed up. And I do love that it got complicated. But at a certain point, it is like they decided to shove the whole plot into... It started to get overcomplicated with the double crossing, and then I actually really love the villain because the villain was clearly, and I'm glad that they used he was obviously smoking something that was giving him hallucinations, as opposed to just having like a mental health something that would be like other like later movies would do. But so I really loved the villain for sure, which was helpful in this. But the double crossing and the paranoia, it got a little complicated as it was getting drawn out forever, and it was like.
See, I love the double crossing plot lines. That was great. That's sold me on so many films, like even up to the modern films like Uncharted that we did a couple of years ago. Like that double cross storyline, when there's a double cross, a triple cross, and you'd start going cross-eyed. I love that. That's clever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You do kind of start to lose track at what point who's double crossing who. Occasionally.
These are different. I think you got to shift your brain a little bit away from what we think of now. When we think of world building, we think of like franchises and like a very large ecosystem of serial storytelling, and that could happen in a movie over trilogies or longer, or it could happen in our wonderful streaming shows. The movies back then, which I think people like Martin Scorsese are getting criticized for doing this now, they wanted to create a world in a single movie setting, like a single film-going experience. I think part of the joy people had back then, because this would have played in a double feature, you guys. People would have bought a ticket and they would have watched like a whole movie before this and just stayed and watched this one.
Yeah.
And I think there is something about just living in this world. And one way that I think that they achieved something so authentic probably isn't the totally right word since a lot of these actors were Spanish and Italian, but the looks of the extras, the looks of the supporting people, the way these humans looked.
Yeah.
It fucking so many like regular or ugly or interesting or crazy bold faces.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice what's his name? Werner Herzog's boy? As Klaus Kinski.
Klaus.
He plays the Hunchback, Juan the Wild. Do you remember the Hunchback guy?
Yeah.
He was the only white dude in the bad gang posse who he has the shootout.
God.
Yeah. There's just so many faces. But yeah, Jeff, you're right. Jean-Maria Volontè, the guy who plays the villain.
Yeah.
Holy crap. The lack of dialogue that these men have. Can you imagine? You're walking on set every day and you're like, what are we doing today? And you're like, there's no script. And he's like, there's no script. You're just going to go from here over there. And here's the scenario. Like that, nobody talks. There's very little talking in these movies. It's kind of incredible that they can be so long.
I just want to
feel so long.
Just want to jump onto cinematography for a second because there are some magnificent fucking shots in this. Do you know was this shot in black and white and then colorized later?
What?
I really
Was it? I'm asking because I mean, I know they shot it on Eastman 50T, but it's very interesting to use a tungsten film for an outdoor. Like
I wonder if that was like
and that gives you a really unique look. I've figured it. I've decided, which is I quite like. Nothing looks like those westerns, and I think it's to do with film and lens choice. Absolutely.
And Dave, don't you feel like that's not for you and I to get into the weeds and bore everybody, but every director and cinematographer still has this conversation, folks. What are we going to go for the look? How are we going to achieve that look? And how are we going to use that form to create how we tell the story?
Yeah.
And yet, something as simple as picking your film stock, back when we used to shoot on film, that alone would take care of so much of the way color was going to be printed onto these things eventually, the way it looks at the red, blue stripes and the green stripes, and just exactly what you just said. I think that there is probably a reason why these movies.
Well, actually, 50C was one of the first ones that wasn't 3-strip.
How many was it? Do you know?
One. It was a single strip.
It was a single. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's why they got used a lot in those westerns because it was cheaper.
I was about to say, there's no way that wasn't just a monetary choice for them to fucking do that. Dave, how fucking jealous are you? These motherfuckers didn't have to record sound. They were just shooting anywhere they wanted under every circumstance, and they were like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to. We don't have to worry about that. We can do anything we want visually.
How did they do?
You know what though? With the films I make now, the sound matches the lips, so I don't know. It's kind of a trade-off. I
know.
It is funny. Clint actually is brilliant at just like not moving his mouth when he talks, and then like dubbing it. Like it's so good. He's the only one that I was like never questioned. Everybody else, I was like, it almost looks like they're speaking a completely different language than the dubbing.
Like from a modern day's perspective, if someone had to QC his ADR, half of it would get passed. Because you can't tell he's actually moving his mouth.
When did Clint do his ADR? Did they have to do it right away? Because he was not allowed to work in America. So he had to go back for Rawhide at the end of the summer. Like, when the hell did he do it? Like, did they have to do it on the go? Like, I think we're going to use this.
That's a wonderful fucking process question. Because normally when we do M&E and dubbing and everything, that happens like way after the fact when it gets distributed to another country. So his voice might not have even been the voice that was used in the Italian version.
That's probably true.
Oh,
that's probably true. Honestly, it definitely wasn't. They probably heard him talk later, and they were like, "Who the
fuck is that guy?" Yeah, I will say I want to give Clint some props here. He came on screen, and Elizabeth was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "What?" She was like, "He's so handsome."
Yeah.
I was like, fuck yeah, man with no name. This guy, God, he is a fucking hoss, dude. He is the opening.
That revealed
I love him in these movies so much. The opening fight when he walks in and the whole bar scene, the saloon when he attacks the guy.
What was the wager? Your life.
He fucking gives him the karate, the judo, and
chops
the
him,
neck and shit. Fucking badass.
Fucking chopped him. Oh, the reveal! Oh my god, it was so good. I love how he lights his cigarettes in all of these movies. Sometimes it's so a boot. Cool. Sometimes,
Is the reveal is his first shot when it's raining and he walks up and he raises the hat, the classic, and you see the eyes and he's lighting.
I don't know if it's raining.
It's
I don't think he's. Like, I'm not sure he ever does that though, because his hand always stays on his gun the whole way through. Like his hand, he's always using his.
Never takes it away.
He's always using his left hand for everything because the right hand is on the gun under the poncho, even when he's punching people.
I love
another thing. Yeah, go. Sorry.
I love that they call them bounty killers, and it pisses me off when I see like Wikipedia or IMDb that's like 2 bounty hunters, and they're like, they said bounty killers so many times in this movie. Like, why do we have to change that? Bounty killers just sounds so much more interesting.
Not many people back then opted for the alive portion.
For the hunt.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, that's
that fucking. the trailer of men that he rides away with, the dead bodies behind him.
At the end.
He's doing the math.
He's counting them up. Sorry, just had an adding problem.
Oh, I missed one.
I love the little billboard thing at the beginning, where life had no value, death sometimes had its price. That is why the bounty killers appeared. Like, that's it. I'm good. Honestly, I don't need a lot of plot. I'm good to go right there.
My first gripe about this was
need a new sheriff.
when the guy gets off the train and he walks up and looks at the poster, and then he walks into town and he shoots that guy, and I'm like, that guy looked nothing like his profile picture.
Yeah, you do nothing like it. Well, at least the guy shaved the beard, though. At least they took that into consideration. Also,
He
that guy
knows
just
him. Those running.
Also, our colonel had a fucking rack of rifles on his horse, and he just like walked away from it like it was nothing. You got to keep those things safe. Man, they had a lot of.
I don't think anybody's touching his stuff.
Yeah. It'd be like you see a tank parked in the street. You're not going to get in it and drive off. Or you might.
Leave and cleave, dude. Don't fuck with them. And how about the obvious? We got to just point it out. These movies like are defined in the exact same way that Star Wars is John Williams' themes. These movies are Ennio Morricone's music.
Why was his
very
Why was his name bouncing?
It's his.
Why was his name bouncing all over the screen in the credits at the beginning?
That was
it was like you had to like try to fire it. Like, just like
I'm
didn't
sorry.
stay put.
I know I'm encroaching on like director intention sort of thing here, but when they did the 5.1 remaster, maybe pick more than 2 gun sound effects. Because
I know, but it's so
really
fun.
got to grit your teeth on your cigar and get through that like opening credits.
Nah, come on.
Yeah, the same 2 shots.
You want to go back in time with them. Yeah, come on.
Guys,
you don't want to hear Jaws. You don't want to hear the Jaws track split into like 5, right? You want that fucking weird ass. You're in IMAX and it's still mono. And that's just what it sounded like, dude.
Do you know that?
I think...
Sorry, go ahead. John Maria Volontè, who you said is our villain in this movie, who would appear in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, was also in another movie in 1964 called The Magnificent Cuckold.
Oh dear. Was that porn?
What's the synopsis on that? What's the blurb?
Actually, it's funny. It's like when a man like starts to get paranoid when he doubts that his wife is being faithful. That like literally is like what it's about, but it's called The Magnificent.
Okay, well, that's not what it means today.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Also, I think I love Morricone. I think to me, my favorite shot of Clint is actually the picture in the newspaper when the colonel realizes he's also a bounty killer, and he's standing over. He says like, "Man kills I think it's the Martin or the Martin brothers," and Clint is like stepping over him, and he's got like this. He's like got this side angle kind of thing going on. Oh, it's so. I mean, that image right there is.
I will say, like my favorite part of the music is right at the end with the watch, where he intersperses the 2 themes.
Every one of those.
Other times, it reminded me of watching Star Trek, original series Star Trek. A little bit.
And I have no doubt in my mind that Silvestri, who I think wrote a lot of the original Star Trek music, right?
Maybe. I don't know about the TV series.
Am I making that up? Maybe not the TV series, but whoever the fuck it was probably knew who Ennio Morricone was.
Yeah.
And they all listened to the old...
You know the original series episodes where like, they tell him there's Klingons and it cuts to Captain Kirk in the chair and it's like dun, 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 it cuts to the Klingons. Dun, 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 back to the captain and he's in a different position. Dun, 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 dun. It's just like different music. It's like, did the person doing this watch this?
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's fucking... And the showdown music in all of his movies are always like the best parts. Like Ennio Morricone just raps in all of the themes.
It's so good.
And like, all right, what a good. This is a good testament to the operatic, the theatricality. What Dave is talking about is these 2 little pocket watches, and when you open them, they're timepieces. When you open them, you can imagine the tiniest little trinket of what is that instrument called, Jeff, that was inside of like music boxes? It's like a little harpsichord, but it's metal and it flicks tiny little different pieces of metal.
I had one that my grandma got me this time. I forget.
So that, like, can you imagine how big these things are in a watch? And yet Ennio Morricone elevates them. First, the sound design makes them loud. So you think like, that's already loud, so it's subjective. It creates this wonderful subjective emotional experience. And then Morricone fucking takes it to this whole other place of what it feels like for that music to be playing as when the music ends, draw. And I just, God, you can't get away with that shit nowadays. People would say that that's
which also gives
bullshit,
which also
not
gives
realistic, and
like Eastwood a really cool entrance at the end of the film. Like this, normally you'd have that moment at the beginning of the film, but no, this is the end of the film, and he's got a second really cool entrance to come in, and yeah, the theme work there was fantastic because they set that up like what, halfway through the film, that theme.
Yeah.
It didn't just sat on it.
Because he does the first kill when you draw like right after he gets out of prison, the jail.
I'm talking about the watch. They set the watch up that it plays that music like halfway through the film, give or take. And then
I think it's before. I think it's even earlier than halfway.
Yeah, and then they just sit on it till the end when suddenly it becomes extremely relevant.
God, I love it, Morricone showdown. But yeah, Clint's entrance, like a Hitchcock. I think his gun just goes out and he's holding the watch, right? It just comes into the foreground.
Yeah.
I mean, just fucking beautiful.
Why did Clint take it?
Take the watch?
Yeah. Why did he snap
He took it off of.
He took it
Well,
off.
the rule was when the music stops, draw.
But Clint came in. I don't think he was in the scene. The guy, because remember he pulls it out.
I can't remember why he took it.
I think he took it off
Well,
camera.
The other guy who came back to try to shoot them, Clint snuck behind him and shot him, and he had taken the watch from Van Cleef, I think, or
from the Colonel,
from Lee Van Cleef. Yeah. So Clint was giving
Colonel
it back to him. I think he was literally just, it's so much fun, you guys. I love these movies.
I do love there was some comedy in this. So you could tell this was the second. Like this definitely feels like a second film.
Yeah, there were a couple of laugh out loud.
There was a time where Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef were doing like the stakeout in that final location when they're trying to kill all the backstabbing and all the this and that, and they realize it's them, so they don't shoot. It's that classic like moment, and then they realize it's them, like they're not going to shoot, and a fucking cat in the back of the fucking frame just screams and goes and runs away while they don't shoot. So like instead of having this like nice, calm, tense, quiet moment, this fucking screechy cat like sends this like somebody laughed, was like, let's throw a cat in there. Like
because that wasn't recorded on set. That was done on purpose.
I know. They threw that in there. They spiked it so loud. They were having fun in this goddamn movie.
They were having fun.
I do love also like, when they do the stand-up like gunfight and they're holding for the draw. Right. The one thing that always tickles me is how they cut to everyone's face, and it's like everyone's watching tennis because they're always looking to the left and then they'll look to the right.
Yeah.
And cut to the next guy. He's looking to the left. He looks to the right. They're all checking the same person and then back and it just does it like 5 or 6 times. It always tickles me. Yeah.
But it's it works, doesn't it? It builds so much tension.
It does build tension.
Oh yeah.
Like unbelievable amounts of tension. I think this I'm going to, even more than John Ford did this a lot too. Howard Hawks did this a lot too. But Leone, more than maybe any of them, people like Darren Aronofsky, lots of other filmmakers who owe this kind of language of we are either wide and you can see everything, or we are this close.
Right. Yeah.
There's such
no two shots
dynamism. Honestly, there are very, very few what we might call like mediums or even like the old cowboy shot from like the guns up, like the holsters up. There really are very few of those.
It's dirty wides everywhere.
I love it. Fuck, I love it, dude. Again, because they didn't have to worry about what the fucking it sounded like. There was no boom hanging over them. They could be as far back as they wanted. God, it's great.
Hey, when we got to the robbery, and they blew the back wall of the bank out and tied the safe to the horses and dragged it out.
Awesome.
Did you sit forward in your chair and go, "Fast and Furious did that"?
Yeah.
Was that
Fast and Furious?
Fast 5?
Heat.
Yeah.
Fast 5. Yeah, dude. I mean, it was fucking fantastic. That sequence is so good, awesome. And just the classic. And I'm not going to credit him, but it was so effective when he cut to that stagnant shot of them all riding past in silhouette with the thing dragging behind them. I was just like, God damn it.
Yeah.
That is just
Stagecoach.
Western epitomized.
And that fucked me up because the scene, it was not too long before that where the two of them decided to team up, where they're obviously shooting each other's hats, which is absurd because they're literally shooting bullets so close to each other. It's like, I know they're good shots, but I think I would jump a little bit if someone was shooting at my feet or my head from a hat. And of course, I don't think hats fly in the air when you shoot them, but it was fun. But the lighting of that scene was incredible. And in the background was the stagecoach. of that shot. It was
nice.
like at the end because I remember being like, "Ooh, that's so lit," and this like blue light. And then when they do the robbery and they have the stagecoach and they drive it away, it's like, oh my god! I don't know if it was the same
that's
one.
good.
It was like the next scene.
At least it wasn't like Bonnie and Clyde where they parked in the stagecoach and couldn't get away.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah, it's true.
These movies are worth watching. They're on HBO Max. All three of them, I think, are on there. I'm really glad we did this.
Make a phone call with your iPad.
Shut the fuck up.
What is happening over there?
I don't know. Siri thought we were talking to her here on my iPad. Ah, fuck.
Easy, Siri.
All right,
Cool, guys.
Settle down. Yeah. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do it. That was great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to our 1965 episode where we featured For a Few Dollars More, available on Max, as John just said. We are now going to spin.
Coincidentally, For a Few Dollars More is also how to get Jeff to do butt stuff.
Jesus Christ.
So we are now going to segue from that into picking our next year seamlessly. So we have a random year generator that Dave is going to release onto the world. We are not going to sit here and Google all the movies that came out this year. After we get through our next segment, What You've Been Watching, we will inform you as to what we're watching next week so you can stay up to date with us. Dave, you ready to spin?
Spinning it.
Let's do it.
Also 1900s.
Yes!
Oh my God, we've been to this year so many times unintentionally.
Unintentionally, yeah. So we're definitely doing
yes.
Titanic, right? It's
1997.
1997.
1997, baby.
1997. What a year in film. Man, Titanic really fucked up the Oscars because it won everything. But oh my God, I cannot wait to get there with you guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we come, no, we're not taking a break. We're going right into What You've Been Watching, and we'll tell you what we pick in 1997. At the end of this segment.
I think we should start. By the way, we should start What You've Been Watching. Dave, kick it off for us. What did you guys watch for your Christmas movie? If you watched a, day of, night of, Christmas Eve, like what did you have one that you watched this year?
Well, I mean, as always, Christmas Vacation was in there, but then also Hawkeye.
The blessing! The blessing!
Hawkeye was the other show I watched as my Christmas show, and I think it's going to be my Christmas watch from now on.
What was it? Hawkeye. Watched
the Disney series, yeah.
I loved Hawkeye.
Marvel series, yeah.
Cool.
Definitely Christmas Vacation, and fucking man, dude, the Muppets Christmas, dude, it's so good. And then the original Grinch, but Muppets Christmas, man, that, because we were going to Hawaii, so with the Lays, when the fucking rats are like, can we put some more coal in the fire? And then he's like, how would the what do they call them? The stenos like to be unemployed, and they're like, heat wave. And like we fucking did that. Like,
Expect
crazy.
the first ghost when the bell tolls one.
Oh my God, it's so good. What about you?
How would the employees like to be on the unemployment line? Heat wave. Oh my God, dude. That meme of Michael Caine. Mike, it's a kid's movie. It's got some Muppets in it. Just have some fun with it. Be silly. I'm going to play this as serious as a heart attack. As serious as a car accident.
It so works.
Yeah. John, have some fun. Be a little silly.
What did you watch? The Ref?
It was not a Christmas movie. I watched fucking Big Lebowski, and I'm so glad I did. It was actually a really good time for a Christmas movie. I don't know why that worked so well, but I had such a wonderful time watching that. Yeah. What else did you guys watch or finish? Dave?
I actually finally watched The Hunt, the film that had its release date pulled a couple of years ago, because it was basically about them hunting people for sport, and it coincided with one of the too many school shootings that happened in the US. It did come out. It's actually quite clever. I thought it was quite a clever film. It's not what you think in how they're posturing it. They take both sides of this argument to task throughout the course of it. I actually really enjoyed it for what it was.
This is not the Mads Mikkelsen movie. This is a different movie?
No, this is a different movie, yeah.
Oh, cool. Betty Gilpin, Hilary Swank, that one? Hilary Swank?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Betty Gilpin?
We've been watching Percy Jackson on Disney, the TV series of the books. That's a really faithful and really cool adaptation. I highly recommend it. Cool. We've been going through Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. We finished that tonight. the end shot is worth it. I am dying for season 2. I hope they get a season 2. Like I said, I saw Poor Things. I watched Saltburn because I was curious about all of the Murder on the Dance Floor clips that was showing up on my TikTok.
And
now I get it. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's not as bad as everyone was making out, but it's pretty bad.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And we've been going through Echo, the new Marvel series, which is a totally different tone. It's under the new Marvel Spotlight series, so you don't need to do 25 years of homework to watch the show. And it's a deaf amputee superhero.
Nice.
Jesus Christ.
I love it. John?
What did I do? I finished The Crown, and I really enjoyed finishing it. And so I just immediately pressed play on season 1, episode 1.
Nice.
And God, that show's good. I love it so much. And I think, to be honest with you, that's it. We've been watching some British Bake Off recently, which is always
nice.
Heartwarming as fuck. If anybody has never watched that show, you just have fucking tears in your eyes. These people are so sweet.
I mean, that is definitely food for the soul, the Bake Off.
Oh my God, it really is, dude. Really, honestly, I'm not kidding. Tears in your eyes. It's so sweet.
It's the only reality TV I'll tolerate.
Me too. It really is the only one. Like they're on sometimes when I come home. Like not a lot, but like this one is unreal, dude. I really do enjoy watching it sometimes. And God damn it, there was another series that I had been watching as well, and I'm just gonna pass it to you, Jeff. I can't remember.
All right, I finished Slow Horses. I started that a couple weeks ago, and it's just so fun, guys. I love Slow Horses. It's season 3, and it ended with a trailer for season 4. So I feel like all these other shows that are just getting like canned, this one is just like, here's a trailer for the next season. It was like the finale literally just came out. I don't know when they filmed these with the strike. I have no idea when it happened, but Slow Horses, Apple TV Plus.
It was only like 6 episodes. How many episodes a season?
It's 6. It's always 6, like 40, 45-minute episodes, and it's so big. I binged the fuck out of it. It was so
You know how
good.
they filmed it? Europe.
It's still SAG. Okay, I watched.
Jeff, did season 2 really fast? Did season 2 end with him with the Russian, making him the Russian guy, that wonderful old Russian actor, kills himself, and he goes and confronts him, and the guy, is that the end of season 2, or have I missed season 2?
Season 2 is the one with the plane with the Code September, and he goes to like the airplane hangar. Yeah, I think that was the end of season 1.
All right.
I think it's the end of season 1.
I have some Slow Horses to watch.
I watched Goodbye Barry, which was about Barry Sanders, who, if you guys are a football fan, by the way, the Cowboys just got fucked up, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Green Bay. I never thought I would say that, but thank you for sending the Cowboys home in dramatic fashion after a 12-5 season. But Bye Bye Barry is about Barry Sanders in Detroit, and it got Eminem, it got Jeff Daniels, it got like these huge people to talk about Barry Sanders. It was really funny. I watched so many things on like the plane. I'm trying to put them all together, but I don't know. I watched Pearl Harbor because I went to Pearl Harbor, so I watched that again. Obviously, the love story is not great, but the action sequences are fucking awesome. So go rock on, Michael Bay. The action sequences are awesome. I can't remember what else I watched, to be honest with you. I'm sure I watched something else with Angela, and I can't remember, but we watched some good shit. It was fun. We had a good time.
Nice. 2024, bitches.
It's our year.
Let's take a break and let's discuss what we're going to do. We'll be right back.
Oh. And we're back. All right, thank you for sticking it out. This week, ahead of next week's episode, we are going to watch 1997's LA Confidential.
Jesus.
Is
wait for it.
streaming on Netflix until the end of January, in which case it will still continue to stream on Netflix with ads. Is that right, Dave?
Well, mine will.
Oh. Oh my God, that's funny.
No, I've got until the end of January before they downgrade my plan. So.
Fantastic. All right, fellas, anything you want to say before we head out and wrap this episode up?
No, this is wonderful.
All right.
Awesome.
Till next time, film fans. See you then.
Peace.